Hello everyone, this is Carlos from Interactive Geo Maps, and in this video we're gonna show you how to populate a map automatically with data coming from a Google Spreadsheet. So here I created a very simple spreadsheet. An important thing for it to work is that the first column needs to be some kind of a header, a title, not the data itself. So here I have code, country, description, value, size. It can have as many columns as you want, and it's important that one of the columns would be the codes, either for the countries or the regions that you need to populate, or at least have the name of those regions, and they need to match this, either the code or the name. So it's important that one of the columns in a spreadsheet has this, in case we're working with regions. I also created another sheet in the same file for markers, and for the case of markers it's important to have the latitude and longitude, otherwise the plugin will not be able to plot the markers. And one of the columns should be a unique identifier. It could be I'm gonna use the name, as it's a different name for each of the entries. If you don't have any unique identifier in your data, you can create maybe an extra column with just the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, just so it has one unique identifier for each of your markers. So the first thing to do in your spreadsheet is to make it public, and we do this by clicking here the share button and clicking here and changing to anyone with the link. This is the only way for the marker, for the map, to be able to come to the spreadsheet and read this data. Okay, so now I can public on anyone on the internet with the link can open. Okay, so this makes sure that our map will also be able to fetch this data. Now this is done. I'm back here to create a new map, and I'm gonna call it sheet data, and I only created data entries in Europe, so I'm going to select the European map, regions, other data sources, and it's the Google Spreadsheet option that we want. Okay, so it asks us first thing Google API key. We don't have it. Maybe we can do the rest already and come back to the API key after. So Google Sheet ID, it explains us here that it's kind of the big number that's going to be here in the link. So we're going to come back here, and it's going to be this part of random characters. So I'm going to copy this over. Range by default is sheet 1. In our case, it's regions. It's the name of the sheet, regions. ID property, where we have our region code. So in these fields here, we're going to use the column headers. For now, we're going to leave this blank, and I'll explain this later on. Now back to the Google API key. So I'm going to click here. And there's a tutorial on how you can create, and I'm gonna scroll down Google API key. So we need to go to the Google Cloud Console, create a new project, go to the API library and search Google Sheets API, enable it, credentials. So we're gonna go through this now in the Google Cloud Console. So I have this tab open here. So it's the first time I'm creating something with this account. Select the country, I agree to the terms, I don't want to receive email updates, agree and continue. and I'm going to create a project. It's the first project, and I'm gonna call it local demo create. And with the Google platform, and now we need getting API keys, sometimes they change. I'm recording this video in mid 2022, and maybe you're watching this video a couple of years later and this might be slightly different, but there might be other tutorials online on how to get an API key. So okay, our project was created. Now we have the project selected. Okay, API, enable APIs and services. Again, enable APIs and services, and we're gonna search for sheets. I'm gonna open this, enable. It's taking some time, and it should be enabled. The next step is to create credentials, because we still don't have an API key. We either go here to credentials, but there's here something say create credentials. Sorry. Now it gets a bit complicated. Myself, I don't understand everything here, but let's say we're using this for application data. We're not going to be asking any user data, and no, we're not going to use this with these types of technologies. Next, service account details. I'm gonna call it. So in the past I had some users with the error that it didn't work. It's because they skipped this test of the service account. So just call it web page for IGM plugin. Create and continue. It says these are optional steps, so I'm gonna click done. Still, we don't have our API key, and again we're gonna come here to create credentials. Nope, not here. Maybe. Okay, here in credentials, create credentials, API key. That's what we need. Okay, I'm gonna copy this. Come here to the Google API key field, paste this, and wow, it works. So we have our map, our data coming from the Google Spreadsheet. Before showing you the rest, I want to show you some common errors. If it's not working, it's possible that it doesn't work at your first try. We're going to go through some of the common issues. So one common issue is that you don't share this properly. So if I change this back to restricted and I refresh this, it's cached, but I'm gonna open. So when you're testing, also an important bit might be to disable the cache, because it saves the data in the database, so it's quicker to load instead of pinging the spreadsheet each time. So settings, external data sources, and I'm going to set it to 0 so it doesn't cache. Save. Now when we preview, it's not working. We don't know why. There's no error messages. And to see some error messages, one trick is to come here to the URL where you have your map and attach debug. And it's going to throw us some information of what's happening. It successfully fetched JSON, but not the JSON we want. It's an error. It says the caller does not have permission. If this is the message you're getting, it's related with this. Okay, and anyone with the link. Okay, don't worry. Your data would be public anyway. If you're worrying about sharing the data, if you have sensitive data on this file, maybe you create a specific file for the map. But it's important to have this set to public. Okay, now let's see. Now we successfully fetched the JSON and we are seeing our information here. So this part is working fine. Another common issue is problems with the API key. I'm gonna just add like an X here, so it's an invalid key. You see it's now loading, and let's see what type of message we have. API key not valid. Please pass a valid API key. So this and other errors that might suggest it's something with the with Google API, it's something that you'll have to search here. Maybe it's a permissions issue. Maybe just start over and or go through that service accounts. Maybe you're just missing this. So you might have some issues with that also. So I'm gonna take out this. Okay, we're seeing it again, and now we're gonna continue. So notice it's showing kind of the code. We don't want the code. We want maybe the country name or some other information, and we can control this down here in the Tooltip template. So we want the name, line break. We want, let's see, we want country and description in a new line. Country, the way it's written there, description, and these are just placeholders for the data. You can use all the columns you have here and some extra ones that the map itself contains. Let's see now. Germany, description for France, so now it's different. And in case you feel that this field is too small, actually in the settings, in the editing, tooltip field, not the tooltip field, we want the template, tooltip and action content template field, we're gonna put it as a text area. It could also be a rich text editor, but I'm gonna just explore the text area. Save, back to our map, to the regions, and okay, so we have more space to work with here if we want to have things more readable somehow. Okay, now back here to the action content property and the action content template. The action content template works the same way as the tooltips. It's basically, you know, placeholders. If you want to leave this as default and you want to use the description as the action content property, you just write the description here. You don't change anything here, and the action content is what the map is gonna show or trigger when you click a region. Right now the click action is set to none, but I'm gonna set it to display content below. I'm going to update. I'm gonna remove the debug, and when I click France, it's showing the description field as I set in the action content. But maybe we want the description field and some other stuff, so that's where the action content template comes. So here we could put description. If we change this is going to be ignored, and it's just going to be reading this. I'm going to put a description, and then I'm going to say like value is value, oops, and size is size and wherever. Maybe we can also add some HTML tags here, so you can use any HTML tags just as an example, and line breaks. Okay, I'm going to update, and now when I preview, this is description for Spain, value 20, size big, and whatever. So you can build your information that displays in the action content template, and this could be the description, the content that displays below. It could be I'm going to change it to the lightbox, for example. Open content in lightbox. And it's just the same thing, but inside the lightbox. And open makes sense. Now we're gonna jump to the round markers. Remember, we had a markers tab here also, and it's gonna be very similar. Other data sources, source of data, Google Spreadsheet, the API key. Still have it open here. The ID for the sheet is markers. No, not the sheet ID. The markers here. The sheet ID is this. Sorry, here. ID property is, you know, the unique identifiers. So we're gonna use the name. Latitude and longitude, I kept the same. Latitude, longitude, action content property. It's what we saw in the regions. We're going to come back to it. And we're seeing the markers. Just gonna change their colors so it's more visible. So yeah, now we have, this is all coming from the spreadsheet. The tooltips for the markers is just showing the title. We can change that in the tooltip template and the action content template as we did in the regions. Yeah, basically that's it. Just to test, I'm gonna come here to regions. I'm gonna add notice here that there's an empty tooltip floating around. We can fix this, coming to tooltip options, and say we only want the tooltip for the active entries. That should be fixed. Okay, so I'm gonna add, for example, an entry for Ukraine. The code is UA Ukraine, description for Ukraine, and here we have Ukraine. Just by updating the spreadsheet, it updated the map in a totally different website. But remember also that the information might be cached, and you should cache after you set up your map, so it doesn't always ping, you know, the spreadsheet, and it's faster to load. Now let's see heatmap. Let's create. So for the regions, let's go down here. You can create a heatmap with the data coming from the spreadsheet. I'm going to use some orange, red colors. The source ID, what are we going to build? It's going to be the value. So it's the same, just uppercase. And let's see. So yeah, so since Ukraine is gonna put a closer number so it's a bit more visible. I'm gonna update. Okay, you kind of see like different shades of orange coming through red here. Still showing the empty. Maybe I didn't save it before. Only active. Okay. Or maybe I change it to like white to red, so it's even more visible. You see the different shades of red. And the same also for the markers. We can set heat map that was going to change the radius. I'm going to leave the gray and set it to orange, or maybe blue. And the source in the markers, it's also the value. And we have the different markers in different sizes coming according to the data from the spreadsheet. And that's it. Hope the video was helpful. I think the hardest part is to get the credentials part right. If you get that part, everything else should be easy to set up. Hope the video helps. If you come across any issue, you can contact us through the support channels. Cheers!